Hello and welcome to a special presentation from In the Money Media. Hello, wherever you are, whether you're listening on the podcast side, if you're watching on the In the Money Media YouTube channel, or perhaps watching the live stream from our friends at Santa Anita and the ITM channels as well. Peter Thomas Forney, very excited to be back with you ahead of another weekend. And they're all pretty much like this now, where we're going to be getting major Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks clues. And this card at Santa Anita on Saturday is fantastic. We're going to go over some of the high points. A woman you know from her work at Santa Anita, from her fantastic show, The Owner's Box. We've got a little bit of a mashup going on here. Michelle Yu, how are things?
So good, Pete. So good.
You've been enjoying the meet out there, and this card seems like obviously we have a big scratch in the big race. We'll get to that, but generally speaking, feels like the vibes are good heading into Big Cap Day.
Yeah, I feel like it is. I feel like the card had a lot of depth to it. Looking at it, I haven't done my hardcore full replay handicapping yet, but looked over it to begin with, and it looks nice and solid.
Sometimes, as important as it is to do all that work, sometimes you get in a situation where first thought can be best thought. And of course, people have the opportunity to hear more of what you have to say. And this is intended as a conversation to obviously pick some horses and give some thoughts, but really to start people on their own journey, hopefully finding lots of winners in the shadows of the San Gabriel Mountains on Saturday afternoon. We got a ton of other coverage for you here. Best way you make sure not to miss any of it, subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to our free newsletter. There'll be some good written content in that. And again, free, inthemoneypodcast.com/email. The first race I want to ask you about is the Grade 1 Beholder Mile Stakes, where we have the return to the races of Splendora, installed as the 4-5 favorite for Bob Baffert. Is this as simple as she wins, or do you think we can pull something else into the mix? Because I kind of want to get cute.
I mean, I feel like there's a couple of horses you could maybe get cute with, but they would have to seriously improve to catch up with what Splendora has recently become. I think previously she wasn't as good as some of the other fillies around, and some of those have gone by the wayside now, and she has taken over her mantle as far as this division. But am I going to single? No. I feel like I want to play another horse at least. And I'm kind of, I don't hate Nafisa, who's her stablemate that won the La Cañada really, really handily. I know she wants the distance, and she has been on a nice roll since figuring out how to run and broker Maiden. But I also am really intrigued by Bless the Broken.
Yep.
Who comes in here. She came off the layoff after running really well in the Kentucky Oaks and then ran okay in the Acorn. She went down to the fairgrounds and she was a super handy winner, going a mile and a 16th off of the layoff, first time for Brad Cox. And I liked that effort. I don't think she'll be as close. I think they're going to go quicker here, but I think she's a filly with a lot of upside. And I think she's really interesting here if one of these Bafferts happens to falter.
That's the one I was going to land on to have the upset win in this spot potentially. I will warn you, a card-carrying member of the fan club. Love that story so much for Will Walden. And I was so disappointed when I interviewed him, Michelle, and he told me that the name was just a coincidence, that the name was from a song and not from the idea.
Yes, it's Rascal Flats. God bless the broken road that brought me straight to you.
That as opposed to, his amazing journey and story of recovery and all the people he's helped through that stable recovery program. I was sure it was no, try again. But anyway, I've liked her for a long. You make that point about how the pace is going to be different here, but here's the thing. I don't think she necessarily needs that candy trip up on the lead, right? She showed in the Oaks, she can come and pass horses. It's not going to be easy to beat the Baffert pair, but I was going to lean towards Bless the Broken, probably backing up with both of those and I assume those would be your numbers as well. Some combination of 4-5. Is it 4-5-6? I think it's 4-5-6. It is.
Yeah. 4 is Splendora, 5 is Bless the Broken, 6 in Nafisa. Yeah. Outside
right.
And I got to just give Aggie a little shout out with her nice family, Almond Joy running, and then Vodka also running in the Big Cap. These are very, very overachieving Cal Reds. Almond Joy was just named the California bred 3-year-old filly of the year this week. at the CTBA Awards, and she ran up quite the record against Cowbreds, and then she did win the Torrey Pines. So she's beaten a couple of Baffords before. I think this is going to be a tall task for her, but I love for Aggie, who's having a career best year, to have some horses that have shots like that in there.
I should mention also, of course, that Will Walden, they have since privately sold Bless the Broken. He is not involved. Brad Cox, who is potentially poised to have a really big day at Santa Anita on Saturday, but we'll get to more of those runners as we get to them. Let's move ahead to race number 6 in this spot. And I'm not going to blame you if you're going to want to punt a little bit on some of these races, knowing you are going to do more work and, of course, have the opportunity to see them in the paddock. But let's at least take a high-level look at some of these maiden races, this brace of maiden races, as the Brits would say, that off the pick 6, starting race going 6.5 for the 3-year-olds. And this is a race where you've got a big favorite, presumably. And I know you're a musical person, and I don't know if Cats is a musical you like, but and it's Memory, not Memories anyway. But it looked to me at first glance like the race probably goes through him. $775,000 this one cost, and you look at the dam side of the pedigree, and there've been a couple of runners out of this dam, both very precocious. I don't know. Is there any beating Memory? I guess that's the question.
So I think we can beat Memory, maybe, and there's 2 horses I think are intriguing at the very least. And the first of those is Captain Shreve, who ran behind Secured Freedom, who came back to run third in the, was it San Vicente or whatnot?
Yeah.
And then last time out, he ran second behind Potente, and Potente is coming back in, I can't keep, okay, it was the Bob Lewis, and then this week's San Vicente. I can't keep the stakes straight. San Felipe today. San Felipe, sorry.
Vicente is earlier. Bob Lewis is the one where Secured Freedom ran.
Yes. So Secured Freedom ran third there, and then Potente is coming back this weekend in the Bob Lewis. So you're coming out behind a couple of stakes horses. You get third start consecutively, and he runs really well. So should Memory falter or not be ready to go 6.5, which is a lot more challenging than just going flat 6, I do feel like Captain Shreve's going to have that like fitness advantage over him. Not that Baffert doesn't get his horses ready to go, don't get me wrong, but I just think that he's worthy of a look. I also like the Doug O'Neill horse in here. He's 10-1 actually, Decisive Win, and he's a son of Nyquist out of a Malibu Moon mare, so really he probably wants to go further than this. But you take a look, he's had 258 and change works, one of those on the main track out of the gate actually, and unfortunately we don't have that work on XBTV, so I couldn't watch it, but we do have his 101 gate drill, and he just looked so effortless. He drew off from his company like he was going way faster than 101 that day, and he just looked like he wanted to keep on keeping on. So I love to see a horse who can finish that way, especially when we're going the 6.5, and he still has that natural speed. He breaks really well. So, I mean, he's intriguing. He cost a pretty penny. I mean, I can't imagine that they thought, oh yeah, let's just spend this money and he's not going to be that good, right?
You're making some great points. 600,000 for the son of Nyquist. Doug O'Neill obviously having a real connection with that runner. And
yeah, right.
You're talking me into using some 3s. I was mostly 9-10. Memory we made the obvious case for, and then Captain Shreve for me. I just, in this type of race, very often I'm gonna want to have the ones that have run, and I think that's certainly the case with the captain there. So some combination of 9, 10, and 3 for both of us to kick off the pick 6. Now, the second race, another one where we've got a lot of unexposed form. These are 3-year-old fillies going 6 furlongs on the turf. We will remember I will mention the hack that I always mention for these races. You can't see the tote board before the pick 6 starts, but you can see those double probable pays. It's an interesting opportunity to look for ones who might be taking some money as those markets start to form. Because for me, Michelle, the one Mo Sasha looked super obvious, ran basically the par speed figure already, and is probably supposed to improve. And I think won't be bothered at all turning back half a furlong in distance. But beyond her, I felt like it was kind of a guessing game. So did anything, looking at these, I looked at a lot of the dams and I wasn't seeing a lot of obvious signal of precocity. Did you like anything among first-time starters or anything else as an alternative to Mosasha.
I mean, I also didn't think that when we're talking about 3-year-olds now, it's not necessarily precocity because they're not two starting, right?
That's totally fair.
Yeah, so even though they're starting late, I felt that that's the opposite of precocity. So I don't necessarily look for that at this time frame. Definitely when they're two, but maybe not so much at this point in the game to see if there's any win early in the pedigree. I thought that what's the name? Decisive. I gotta scroll. Decisive Deception. The Neil Drydesdale was really interesting. Now, unfortunately, Drydesdale doesn't win on debut. So that kind of stinks. But her last work was real. Actually, she's had a couple of really good works in a row. And Neil doesn't really work his horses that fast. She worked in company. She came on the outside. And it took her a second to kind of like figure out what she's supposed to be doing. So she was a little bit green. But once he got her straightened out and knew what she was doing, she gobbled up some ground. Even though I feel like we didn't necessarily say charlatans were going to be turfy, they have actually been pretty good on the grass. So she was one that was intriguing to me. Although if you're looking to, keep your ticket small, just because Neil doesn't win first time out, I guess you could chuck her out. But if you're looking for a horse that you want to like put in your stable mail or maybe could spring an upset or you maybe have a little bit of extra dough, I would certainly kind of watch her because I think that she's got a lot of the right tools to be a debut winner. And if she was in someone else's barn that was just a little bit more known for first time out winners, I would say that she's good. The other horse that is really looking good in the mornings is the Jonathan Thomas horse, High Society Yu. Now, I don't know if she's going to like the turf here, which is what we're starting on, but she definitely likes the dirt. And if you go on to First TV and you watch that last drill, 47 and change, and Pete, she did it like this. I mean, like whoever was riding her earned his keep that day because he was holding her back. She could have gone 46 easily, maybe even faster. So she does not look like she is lacking in talent. She was actually on the inside of her workmate as well, which I feel like is always the harder place to be. And she was in front and her workmate came to her. And then her rider's like pulling her back like, oh, hey, maybe you should hang out with the workmate. And so she kind of slows, but she has her mind on running and she's got the bit in her mouth and she is determined to hold on. And her workmate ended up like catching her, but not for her fault because the rider was holding her so severely. But I think if let run, she could run really well.
Yeah, that's a great note.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. That's a great note. And Defiant Honor is a stakes winner on the turf. I don't think the siblings haven't done much on it, but there's been only a couple of foals. So, yeah, and Speightstown, I mean, that, turf,
get you a little bit of anything.
Yeah. So I think that's a great point about two runners to consider. What of Mosasha in the mix for you? I would assume.
Oh yeah. I mean, how do you not? She ran second first time out. She went 6.5, so she gets a turn back in distance, which I obviously love. She cost a pretty penny. McCarthy is doing super well. There's literally zero drawbacks to me on this horse, unless like she worked like garbage. I don't think she did. She actually worked like 2 days ago. Let me watch it real quick.
Yeah, pull it up real quick. Let us know what you think. I can filibuster for a minute. Never need to twist my arm to throw in Michael McCarthy runners. And it's the kind of race where, maybe if you want to use the favorite and some of those prices in some pools, you can extra times. There's ways of betting it intelligently where you're not just using all three the same if it is a very live favorite, but you can still, or maybe you single the favorite in the pick six, but then something you have some alternatives, et cetera, et cetera. You can leverage pools off each other. What are you seeing?
Her March 1st work will not turn me off at all. Like even going back to some of her earlier on works, before she started, they were kind of like riding her along. And in this work, she's pretty much in hand, nice and easy, but you look at all of her workout times are nice and easy. Like she never touts herself in the morning, and she looked 5 times more professional in this work than she looked in her January 5th work. Great. So nothing to dissuade me off of her at all. I don't even mind the rail draw for her. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, I wouldn't think so.
The rail is going to be down, I would imagine. Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out in these maiden races. Now we'll get to the graded stakes, the rest of the graded stakes portion of the card. Mentioned Kentucky Derby clues at the top of the show. We're going to get some in the Grade 2 San Felipe Stakes. Brandt, who is a consensus Kentucky Derby top 10 type runner, makes his return to the races in here. I'll just put it like this. Are you with him or against him?
Yeah, he's a single.
Wow. You like him that much?
I wanted to try and beat him desperately because I'm like, he doesn't want to go that far. I mean, I had all these reasons in my head, right? After watching his last like 10 works, you're not going to beat him.
Okay.
He is so effortless. He has gotten bigger. He has gotten stronger. I don't know if he's gotten faster, but he's at least as fast as he used to be. So yeah, I pivoted from trying to beat him with like a couple of the horses and get really cute to like, I just don't think you're going to be able to beat him.
I'm going to use him. I'm not going to let him beat me, but I'm a Secured Freedom card carrying member of the fan club too. And I just really thought that last race, which really flowed to the front with Plutarch and Intrepido out there, he was the only horse making late. He was wide throughout. It just visually to me gave the impression of a run from which a horse might come forward. Brandt might just be different sauce, but I think because of the questions about the distance, etc., and the price, I'll have some Secured Freedom on the tickets, but we'll have plenty of Brandt as well. What I'm so happy with the San Vicente we were talking about before, the actual San Vicente winner, which I didn't remember in real time, was so. Do you give him any count to tangle with Brandt?
So actually him and Brandt both worked 111 and change. And when you watch them, Brandt is breathing different air in his 111 and change than So Happy Is. Now, I will say Mike Smith was riding So Happy, and Ryan noticed he didn't even carry a whip. Like he wasn't, maybe encouraged along to make him like look a little bit better. But just visually looking at them, Brandt looked better. And he didn't need to be asked along. He was doing it all on his own too, right? Like after watching all of the works from all the horses and the replays, I did do that race. To me, it went from I'm going to have a lot of horses to it's just going to be Brandt or nothing.
Terrific. Let's talk about the Grade 2 Frank Kilroe Mile. We're going a mile on the turf here, obviously, and I'm very curious to get your take on this one. Michelle, where is your eye drawn?
So I feel like we're kind of at a spot where there's no real standout in here. I mean, El Patente would be as close to a standout as you would think. But this is going to be his first time stepping up into Grade 1 company. He previously has faltered at Grade 2 company. So I don't know if I trust him that much. And I know that Dan thought enough with him that he was thinking about taking him to Dubai. With everything going on, they opted to just stay home instead. I guess the Kilroe's a Grade 2 now. Well, still, in my mind, it's a Grade 1. So I don't know. I am not sold on Patente as a single, hands down. I would certainly have to look at Mibago. I've been a big Mibago fan, and it has been a roller coaster of a ride with this horse for sure. But he's coming off a win last time out. He is capable of doubling up wins. I do think he's going to like the turf course at Santa Anita because it's pretty fast, and I feel like that's what he likes. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like when the turf has been less than firm is when he's kind of like spit the bit a little bit. So I certainly want to look at him. And I mean, I won't count out Gas Me Up. He really showed an electric turn of foot when he won the Hernandez. He was well beaten in the Thunder Road, but I don't think he got the trip that he loved. He gets on the outside, more on the outside now than the rail, which I think is gonna work in his favor.
Picked by you that day on television. In the Hernandez not a bad little call. I felt like that downhill configuration and the blistering pace really saw him to his best effect. And I think he'll get the blistering pace here. I do think there is a world in which El Patente and Mibago really could lock horns and maybe set this up for a closer. But I
don't know if Mibago's fast enough to be like California front end unless they just let him go.
He's so one way. I mean, he'll try. Yeah. He's probably not fast enough to do it and hang on, but I think he's fast enough to cause problems. And
I agree.
He's a one way of going. And I think El Patente being inside, I think it might be tricky for him to let that one. I think he's got to go, So I feel like they're going to hook up. And looking at pace figures, Final Boss isn't going to be far behind. So I was thinking it'd set up great for me, Hermano Ramon.
Well, don't forget Cabo Spirit. Cabo Spirit is one way to go.
Exactly. You got enough, right? Of course.
Front and then nothing else. Like there's no change in him.
So Potente can pass horses. So maybe the challenge is for Berrios, and obviously he's good at this game. If he can somehow avoid a duel, bounce his way to win. I definitely want El Potentes because I think you make a great point. I think he's the fastest horse, right? I like to have the fastest horse on my tickets, but are you buying my case at all that it might set up just perfectly for me, Hermano Ramon?
My problem with me, Hermano Ramon, is I swear that horse does not like to win races.
Well, I mean, it's like, not wrong.
I know they went slow last time. He didn't win. He didn't win the Shoemaker, and I felt like that was really his opportunity. I mean, we've taken him like to all these races and he just gets bet, and he just doesn't win the races. So like, I don't know if that's just like him or like if he's just like not as good as we want him to be. He just doesn't win. So for me, I'd rather play someone else that like has a little bit more of a oomph drive. I'm like last time you and I talked and we had JK on and JK was picking Astronomer in something and trying to make this like big case. I'm like, yo, that horse hasn't won a race since 2023. You know, so like I would rather him beat me. Like
Ramon isn't Astronomer though. I mean,
he made 110,000 last year.
Hermano Ramon, he has won, like his career mark doesn't suggest that he's a refuser. And I think he's been in different kinds of races, right? He's been in slow, looking at his PPs in the last 3 races, I'm seeing blue time form US fraction, slow paces. He's going to get a fast pace here. Now I know he did have a fast pace in the Pegasus Turf last year, I get that was, but he moved too early there. He's a bit of a Goldilocks horse. He needs it to be just right. But I think, 4, 5, 6 to 1, I'm gonna stick with him and back up with Potente. Sounds like you are mostly 3, 6, and 4 in here.
El Potente, Gas Me Up, and Mibago. Yeah, Mibago would be like my outside horse. I think it probably ends up being El Potente or Gas Me Up.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll put that. I'll make sure we reflect that in the notes. And let me just.
I feel like you and I should do like a separate head-to-head. Gas Me Up versus me, Hermano Ramon.
Yeah, let's do it. What do you want? Yeah. What do you want to bet?
Oh, I don't know. What should we bet?
Round at Royal Ascot.
There we go. Champagne in a bag at Royal Ascot. Okay, this is head to head, last second to last, whatever. Head to head.
I'll go easy on you. All the great work you do for us at ITM. We'll put my pitcher of Pimm's against your bottle of your preferred brand of champagne. We really do need to get to sponsor us at some point. I've been talking about it for years, and I've never.
Pete, you froze. We iced him out.
We move on to the race that gives the day its name, Big Cap Day, Santa Anita Handicap. I mentioned at the top, we do have a scratch in here. Skippy Longstocking, an incident in shipping, will not be taking part. We're still left with some talented horses in here, though. Just a touch for me, for Brad Cox. Michelle just absolutely leaps off the page. Not a lot creative to say here other than the old fastest horse angle, but also the fastest horse who should get a really good trip, I think, maybe sitting second flight. And he's just shown the ability to finish races in a way where I feel like this test is going to be right down his street. Where are you with Just a Touch, and who's going to win the Big Cap?
So I actually like a local horse to win the Big Cap. I like Westwood coming out of the win in the San Pasquale. He's got the ghost of John Sheriff's in his corner. He was under the tutelage of John, who recently passed away. He was moved to Peter Urton. So I feel like this race is really for John. Yeah. He was third in the Native Diver behind Nevada Beach. I thought that was an okay race. I guess the question is, does he want to go this far? And I'm not entirely sure, but he's overall been a super consistent performer. And he looks like he's working pretty sharply. So I like him. I probably will also include Just a Touch because I don't feel like I can ignore him. But I also think he's a little unproven at the 1.25 miles as well. And I got to get my formulator rocking and rolling here. I feel like Brad Cox doesn't win graded stakes at Santa Anita. Let's see.
Take a look and see. Things aren't leaping to mind, but it also might be one of those things where it's such a limited sample. I'd be surprised if it's something that makes you say, "Oh, we can't do that." Are you on it, or you need me to hit it?
No, I got it. I feel like it was like outside of Breeders' Cup, like he didn't have like any Santa Anita, because I feel like I did this before.
But why outside of Breeders' Cup? You feel
Well,
like
because I feel like Breeders' Cup is different. Like it's not like a regular California race, right?
That's fair. I mean, I see. I can understand that case. I don't know. I think your point about the distance. I just feel like the sectionals in the races say the distance is going to be okay, and Brad Cox wins so much that, look, I mean, I'm not going to talk you off. The Westwood case is great, but I'm not sure that if Just a Touch wins, I'm not sure those would be the reasons why he doesn't win. You know what I mean?
So he has won 2 graded stakes at Santa Anita. One of them was a Breeders' Cup race with Idiomatic. And then the other race was Amo Ray. He won the Beholder Mile in 2023. And subsequently, he has sent Timberlake, Zosos, Wet Paint, Saudi Crown, Mataraya, Caravel was in the Breeders' Cup, Howl, Giant Mischief, Highland Falls, Hit Show, Tarifa, and First Mission, and none of them could win here.
And we're bet, right? I mean, every horse you mentioned there probably did get bet. So that does, which always, if there's a stat like that and every horse is 10, 12 to 1, I'm like, eh. But no, I mean,
like His Show in the big cap was like less than 3 to 1.
Yeah.
Highland Falls was 3 to 1. And Warrant was 8 to 1.
It is one of the ways I really like to use trainer stats to try to find reasons to not single big favorites. So, I mean, I hear where you're going, but my gut as a horse player tells me that this is a different situation, but that my heart as a horse player is rooting for your scenario.
So you think Just a Touch is better than Hit Show and what's his name?
He doesn't have to be better than any of those horses. He has to beat
has to face a weaker field.
He has to beat the field in front of him, and I think
who has he beat though? Like, I mean, let's be honest. Who, like, when you look at that, that's my problem with Just a Touch. Who has he beaten?
He's more of a
without looking, go like this. Who can you name me a horse he's beaten if you don't look?
No, I honestly can't.
Okay.
What would be the answer? I'm trying to think if there's anybody. I mean, he was
Party. I mean,
but it's I'm such a figure-oriented player, and I like the fact that he has been able to. He's not one-way speed. He's going to get such a good trip. That. And the way he finishes his races, I like all these things. I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time telling you why I like a 6-5 shot, and I do worry that's what he's going to be.
I think he's actually 3 to 2. I'm just gonna. For me, he's
6 to 4 instead of 6 to 5.
He's such a play against 3 to 2. Like, if you're gonna single or you're gonna chuck him out, I would rather chuck him out.
Okay, that's fair enough. Anybody besides Westwood for you in here to get a piece, or what do you think?
I mean, he was kind of the one I was focusing on.
Nothing wrong with just mentioning one.
Yeah, I mean, I would if there's gonna be a crazier horse, to me it'd be like British Isles.
Right, well, he makes sense.
He's got like sniffs where he's been decent, but then he just throws in stone cold clunkers. I mean, like his Pegasus World Cup looked terrible. Yeah. His Native Diver behind Nevada Beach looks fine. I actually think the distance is going to work in his favor, because even though he hasn't been 1.25 miles, he's gone 1.5 miles in 1, 1 3/8 in 1. So I think if everybody else gets really leg weary, he's the one that's going to pick up the pieces.
I think that's a great case. Get him somewhere in there, and we'll go head to head in the big cap, which is always more fun anyway. We have plenty of agreement on these shows, but it's always more fun when we can make opposite cases like we do there. We close it out on Saturday with a state bred first level allowance optional claiming 20 going a mile on the turf. When it comes to all these late pick bets at Santa Anita, like some of these ones that we absolutely love, Sunset 6, traditional pick 6, the late pick 3.
Turf, all turf pick 3.
We got the all turf closing here, but there's one question we need you to answer. How are we going to get paid?
For me in this race, it's gonna be by spreading.
Okay,
like, all the
horses
that seem logical, I feel like are very logical. You have to like Warm Sun and Brew for Mark Glatt.
Yep.
He's never put in a bad effort, and he's run at this level twice, and he's finished well both of those times. I think that you have to look at Infinitum, the other Mark Glatt. He broke his maiden in an off the turf race, came back and he ran 3rd in an allowance down the hill. He's by Grayson out of Rock Hard 10 to me that says, send me farther, send me further. So I just think that the more ground is really going to work in his favor. Plus, that was his first 10 versus winners. He drew the rail going down the hill. Just, it's not a great, outing altogether. So I think he can really move forward. And I like King of Dragons for Peter Urton. I don't know what happened to him last time. I mean, the comment line says through head to start. I don't know if it was that big of a deal because I haven't watched the replay yet. But this is a horse that you take out kind of like that effort. You take out his try against Open Company and his short race, and every other race he's been right there. So I feel like he's pretty consistent, and so I think he's very playable.
Makes those 3 all make sense to me.
Nothing that exciting, like price wise. It's not like I have like a 10-1 shot in there that I love.
Well,
but
the 10-1 I'll tell a little story about is Freeport Joe, just based on these last couple of trips where I thought he's gotten kind of stymied for run. I mean, it was a huge price 2 back, but didn't run all that bad.
Yeah, you know what the problem is? Instead of bringing over a really getting a really great rider, Gloria has been just super consistent with like the people she brings over to ride her horses.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes she is at the mercy of the rides that she has been given by them.
I think that's fair to say with Freeport Joe specifically. I would feel better, not to knock anybody. That's not our bag here.
No, but if you could get Kazushi on this horse, exactly. I feel like, oh my gosh, what, you'd have a night and day different scenario. And actually that was on like Sunday. She had a horse running that just got kind of he's not even riding a horse in here. Oh, yeah, he's not even riding. So yeah, I would get Kazushi on this horse myself, but on Sunday she had a horse that like looked like it could be a winner. And I think that it was just the drawback of like not the smartest ride I've ever seen. And I think it cost her a really great finish.
One of these days, the trip will happen for this horse and the odds will be outrun, and doesn't necessarily, there's always exactas and trifectas too. If we're talking about a long shot to get in there, the 8 Freeport Joe would be my one, but I'm mostly 1-7, and you mentioned 1, 7, and 9. Well, I've kept you enough for this afternoon between the half hour we spent talking about theater, my technical difficulties, and the show itself. I feel like I've stolen you from your family long enough. But
it was I liked the pre-show warm-up was all musical theater related, so that was great.
Good stuff. Well, we will have you back obviously very soon. Folks can catch you on the Santa Anita feed, on the Owner's Box. You'll be a big part of our upcoming coverage for all things Kentucky Derby. But we're going to leave it here for now. Thanks so much to our friends at Santa Anita and First Racing. Thanks again to Michelle. Thanks to everybody out there watching or listening. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.